Namaste, I'm Rachna Bagwe. I'm covering 365 days, 365 stories. Through this series, I have been covering stories of people from different walks of life. And I'm happy to share with you all that it is becoming a world record. And today, along with us, we have a director of a very famous and well-known brand in Dubai, that is Al Adil. Today, along with us, we have director of Al Adil, Mr. Hrishikesh Datar, sir. We will know more about him. Namaste.
Stay.
So, first of all, welcome on this channel and tell us about your childhood and your background.
So my childhood was we didn't start off as big as we were. My father, the family originally had only one store, and my father wasn't working as the owner of the store. He was actually working as the cashier at that time. Um, Eventually, he started rising up the ranks himself. Uh, During that time, my childhood mostly, I was able to see his struggles in the beginning, as I had told you offline as well. I used to go to malls in my dad's van with my mother. Uh, there was no luxury as such when I was growing up, but eventually, as soon as my dad started growing more and more, eventually more and more luxury started coming towards us. Apart from that, my social life was fantastic because I used to live in the same building our supermarket was in, and it was filled with Indians. And I got to interact with several different Indians over there. There were Gujaratis, Marwadis, Sindhis, also, I think Punjabis as well. There weren't many of those. And that actually gave me the initial exposure I needed about Indians. Uh, India on its own is quite diverse. There's multiple states, each with their different cultures, each with their different cuisine, each with their different forms of temperament. The way they celebrate is different. The way they're socially engineered is different. So I was able to get a more generalized view on how what connects the Indians to one another, and that would be the spices. So initially, early on itself, I was keen in I wasn't as keen in academics, but I was keen in practical knowledge. So whenever I was young, I would see my mom as well on the cashier position. Now she handles finance. And it really did give me an initial exposure to understand how the business works. As you may know, we import over 9,000 Indian items. And not only did I need to, it was not that difficult for me to learn it because since a young age, I used to hang around the shop anyway. And we only had one shop. Later on, when in an academic scenario, I was mostly with Arab children and Arab and English children, which made me lose a little bit of touch with my cultural roots. And as I grew, my parents identified it and they said it's better if he goes and learns in India so he can learn our traditions, our culture, and all the wonderful things our country represents. So I was in I was in this hostel called Riverdale International School, which is besides Pune in a small village called Pau. I studied over there for 2 years, and it really exposed um, everything to me because all children over there were independent, and you know, uh, there were unfiltered thoughts that they would share with me, etc. So. Uh, in a scenario, it actually helped me understand the culture more, and it also helped me grow more. And then after that, I came back to Dubai. I studied in Manchester School for 2 years, and then I moved on to Emirates Aviation University for my bachelor's in business degree. After my after getting my bachelor's, I completely lost my interest in academics, and I started working as a purchaser in Aladil.
Uh, you mentioned that you learned a lot of things while you were in India. So your father is a well-known business icon, Dr. Dhananjay Datar. So how is it to work with him? What experiences you have gained with him? And tell us about it.
So, working with my father, and my mother both, uh, I learned what hard work truly is. So I never got pocket money, right? I never ever got pocket money. If I ever wanted money or if I wanted something, I had to work for it. So 13 years onwards itself, I was on the cash register. And I didn't get paid much back then either. How much will you pay a 13-year-old, which is like two, three, I would say 500 rupees or so a month I would make working around 8 hours or so on the cash register. And dealing with customers in general, dealing with both types of customers, happy and angry customers. And at a young age itself, my father always says that customer is God, right? And a practical exposure of that really helped me understand the customer mindset and how they should be treated, how to de-escalate. I learned that from a very young age itself. Uh, Another trait that my both my parents have is discipline. So there was a time when I was on summer vacation, and all of us in the house had caught a fever. I was not able to move at all. I remember I was just sitting on the couch playing games, and my both my parents sat beside me, had their breakfast, got up, just took a pill, and went to work. And when I looked at that, even though I had a summer vacation, and it's nothing wrong for me to just relax and recuperate. I looked at that and it inspired me, saying that all of us are sick, but they got up, they just took one pill and they went to work. And that's what encouraged me to talk to my parents again and ask them to give me another job apart from the cashiers. So I started working as a sales rep after that. And that's when I learned how difficult it is actually making money as a salesperson, because you need to go out in the heat. You need to spread out you need to give each and every potential customer your price list, following up on it. It really, really taught me the value of money and how difficult it is to actually make it, which in turn gave me value. He's a man of action, and that's what he actually transferred onto me. So he's more of the person who's don't talk, but just walk the walk. Whatever you're saying, or you don't even need to reveal what you're going to do with words. Let your actions speak for you. And that is another thing I learned from him. And the third thing I would say is humility. I learned from both my parents, I learned humility because they never spoiled me with money at all. And I never had a history of speaking ill to my elders anyway. But in general, I think it is uh, the, I don't know, it's so weird. I actually have an English word for everything, but I don't have the English word for sanskar, right? So they were able to transfer the sanskar onto me with practical knowledge, which is the fastest way for me to learn.
So you started your journey quite young. You have
Mm.
15 years of experience. So tell us about it.
Mm. Yeah. So as I told you initially, as a cashier, I learned how to deal with customers. As a sales rep, I learned how hard it is to make money. As a purchaser, it was a whole other experience, right? Because for this time, I'm the one in power, and someone else has to serve me. And another thing I actually learned from my dad in that part was negotiations. So as a purchaser, I started young again, around 16, 17. I was purchasing for for the whole company, including all the ground level work, such as even making the paperwork for purchasing, etc., etc. All this I was doing. And after that, during college, I was simultaneously also working and visiting our shops. So to make sure everything is all right, and have more ground level experience, I would say more likely to rebuild my ground level experience. I was put into that division again. So I think for 1 or 2 years I worked over there. And just around 7 years ago, I got my big break from dad, where he said that, I think it's time for you to take some real responsibility. So he gave me government work I was responsible for, and tax compliance I became responsible for, which was just a whole other ball game because the way the government works in Dubai, it's pretty verbatim. So these are the procedures, these are the ways things go, and then the paperwork that is required for you to prepare for you to actually visit customs, maybe the Dubai municipality, you know, I had to deal with all the legal matters that were coming towards us. And throughout that time, maybe in 3 to 4 years, I started gathering more and more experience. And now I'm actually the head of the legal department. I'm head of the HR department, and I'm also handling our procurement and logistics of the company. So as my current role.
Uh, so in this journey, were there any obstacles, and how did you overcome the obstacles in the sense of personal or business? Anything you can share?
Well, if I'm being honest, I didn't have many obstacles per se because my I was pretty, I would say I was sheltered from it. And learning was pretty much ingrained in me anyway. So I wouldn't say there was any obstacles or learning issues that I had or any other thing. I've never suffered anything that I could share that's worth sharing, to be honest with you. I guess I got lucky.
That's great. That's truly great. So you are the third generation into your business. Your grandfather had started the journey of business in Dubai, and you are the third generation. So how important it is for the next generation to come into a business?
For the next generation to come into business, I think succession planning needs to be put in place. To be honest, succession planning plays a major role. Luckily, my father did some. My father was very precise in succession planning. So both Rohit and I are handling different divisions, and leadership. When it comes to leadership, there is no questions asked. We know who's responsible for what, and the accountability is what drives the performance. So I think, yeah. Uh, because my father had the presence of mind to get us involved early on in business itself, which is why we're not really struggling as much as third generations are tend to struggle when it comes to handling the family business, etc.
So we have 50 plus supermarkets all across Gulf now. So what are your company's future plans?
My company's future plans is that I actually want to develop a brand more, which is Peacock. I want to develop it more, and I want to use it to enter the African market and also the Asian market, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, as our Indian influence is also growing geopolitically. Uh, it gives us more opportunities to grow in other countries and who are more likely to be there are more other countries are also more keen to learn about Indian culture. They're more keen to try Indian cuisines now. And I think because of Singapore and African similarities, there's a few similarities when it comes to Indian cuisine. I think there won't be an issue with the expanding over there.
I would like to ask you the last question. What message do you want to give to your viewers?
I'll just tell you something I learned today. Not today, just recently I learned is there's one good thing about good time. There's one good thing about bad times is that it ends, and there's one bad thing about good times is that it ends. So use your good times to grow and help others, so that you at least have someone with you during your bad times. And during bad times, just know that it's gonna end sometime, and it's only gonna help you grow. That's pretty much
Thank you. That's absolutely true what you have said. And
it.
thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being part of 365 Days, 365 Stories.
Thank you, Rachna, for having me over. Namaste.
Thank
Bye.
you.